Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Tackle Shop Live.
A sunny day, right there you took my breath away. A young and pretty, you was.
Man, we got a great show for you guys tonight. How's everybody doing? I want to welcome everybody from TikTok. How are you guys doing? This is new for us. We're live every Thursday night on Facebook and YouTube. But today, we added TikTok to the show. Welcome to Tackle Shop Live, where we talk about fishing. We talk about fishing gear. We talk about techniques. We talk about tournament fishing. We talk about just about everything that has to do with fishing and fishing tackle. My name is Mike Acord, and the guy coming in here in just a minute is George Acord. And behind the camera is cameraman Nick. And you guys will hear him talking on and off, but may not see him. Maybe you will. Who knows?
How's it going, everybody?
Yeah. How you doing, Nick? First, just want to say I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. We didn't shoot the show live last week because of Thanksgiving. You know, we wanted to be with our families and everything. So I hope everybody enjoyed the time with their family and their Thanksgiving. You know, hopefully you got out fishing like we got out fishing. We went out fishing and caught some fish. So tradition for the SFT crew. So we were out there banging some smallies around, you know, it's always good. You know, it's always good. So how's everybody doing? Adam Tice is in the house. Chris Benninger, Don Roeder. How are you, Donnie? Steve Klauser, WB Jones is in the house. How you doing, buddy? Man, I got a great crew of guys here. Appreciate everybody. Who else is here? Mark, how you doing, Mark? Travis Gensler, Joseph Cascarino. How you doing? You bet.
Only his mother calls him Joseph.
Joseph, I know. I like to call him Joseph.
Just saying.
David Schottelmeyer, Greg Plank, how you doing, Greggy? Kevin Carpenter, Robert Donahue, Andy Garrett, how are you every week? Thank you, buddy. Appreciate that. Chuck Reif, another every week guy. All these guys are every week. They don't miss. Larry Show. Nobody misses Tackle Shop Live, Nick. You know that. I mean, this is what we do. We love to do this, and we love to put down the information for everybody. Got a couple announcements here real quick. As always, we have announcements on Tackle Shop Live. The got a great one for you guys. We're going to do a flash sale this Saturday. They call it a flash sale because it just pops up. It's flash, you know, it's just instantaneous. So we decided we're going to do a flash sale this Saturday, December the 3rd, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. 10% off most everything in the shop. I mean, like almost everything. And we have some blowout freaking specials going on.
Use your imagination.
Yeah, use your imagination. I mean, you guys know the shop. We can't say a lot of stuff, but it's going to be a great thing. Plus, we have some blowout deals we're going to offer also for one day only. You know, some guys missed the cabin fever, some guys missed it, or the Black Friday, and some guys missed the in-house. Now you can just come in on this Saturday, get a nice little sale, take advantage of some great products, get somebody a Christmas present, because this is Christmas season. It's time to start shopping your Christmas presents. We got a ton of them here. We got a ton of new stuff also.
Well, I think it's important to note on this flash sale, you know, for those of you that can't make it here, you're encouraged to call in. We'll have people here that will be answering the phones. You know, they're going to be able to walk you through, you know, your sale. In other words, it's a one-day sale. We're going to work hard at it.
We'll do the best we can.
You know, we want to set a record. We want to go somewhere around 10,000 orders for the day. So, you know, if you can get, you know, if you can step up to the plate,
that would be great.
Help us get to the goal.
That would be absolutely
Guinness
great.
Book's going to be here.
Yep.
You know,
yep.
We're going for the record.
Tammy Greenman, how you doing? Good to see you. Kyle, how you doing? Kenny Hodgins, what's up, bro? So that's this Saturday, December the 3rd, for you guys who didn't get a chance to take advantage of some sales, come on in for that.
Well, even if you did get a chance to take advantage of last week's sales,
Yeah,
now you can take advantage of this week's sales.
absolutely. Why not? Why not? So other events. Now I know I keep some of you OGs on here are going to know that I keep saying this, but I just want to keep reminding everybody who's checking in through the TikTok now that we have some awesome events in the first quarter of the year. This is what we do. We do very educational stuff. That's why we do this Tackle Shop Live, because we like to teach and spread our knowledge that we get from all the people that we fish with throughout the industry and all the different pros we get to hang out with and talk with and pick their brain. We like to spread that to you guys. So in one of the other ways we like to do it is through events and seminars. So we have Bass Fest, January 13th and 14th is Bass Fest this year. And that event is one of our biggest events of the year as far as seminars, seminar speakers. We got Bill Lowen coming. That's an announcement that we can definitely say. Bill Lowen's coming. And we also have Greg DePalma coming. And we have a fella from Megabass who is a big-time guide up on the Lake Ontario, Thousand Islands regions. He's coming to do some great seminars. This guy, he just got hired by Megabass. So you get hired by Megabass, you're doing something. That's a pretty serious deal, So, and then we have a bunch more that we're working on. So there's always a bunch of them. And that's seminars every day for both of those days, January 13th and 14th. We give away a ton of door prizes. We're famous for door prizes. And it's all by drawing. So that's a lot of fun. And then we have great sales and specials going on for that. And then mark your calendar for Smallmouth Saturday, February 11th. Smallmouth Saturday, talking everything smallmouth. We're working on that event. We got, of course, all of our local talent is going to be here, all the local guides, all the local people that are anything smallmouth are going to be here walking around talking. Some of them are going to be doing seminars. And then we also get some other talent in to do some seminars all about smallmouth fishing. That'll be here February the 11th. And then our last one of the first quarter of the year is our Cabin Fever sale. And that is March 9th through 11th. Again, that's the big buying one that guys come in and just stock up on, but it's also seminars. We're getting a tent. We got the tent coming again. We have heat in the tent. It's a ton of seminars again for that. So there's your 3 dates. Mark your calendars, get yourself set up, and come in. They're fun. We have a great time. You get to learn. You get to talk to these guys face to face. Everybody does seminars are here walking around in the shop all day long. So you can get your questions answered one-on-one with the pros. It's just a great time. We have a fantastic time overall with that. So that is pretty much all of the announcements I have. Got anything, Nick?
Nope. I just can't wait to hear how to catch these wintertime bass.
Yeah. So today on our show, our topic is wintertime bass fishing. We're going to get into that in just a minute here. But that, we did our fall series. But I want everybody to know that maybe hasn't stopped in here, and especially for you, our TikTok viewers, you can go on to our social media and you can watch all this stuff over. It's all documented on there, and you can rewatch these shows, or you can go to any of your podcasting areas, and you can download and listen to the podcast. And it's the show, just audio. And then you can kind of listen to them there. We got every single show onto that. You can go on to YouTube and watch them. You can go on to Facebook and page down through and watch them and catch up on it. But we just finished up our series on fall fishing, early fall, and late fall. And today we're going to start moving right into winter, because up here in Pennsylvania, where we're from, it is winter. It's cold as a son of a gun. And it's driving me crazy. I don't know about George, but it's driving me nuts.
Cold?
Yeah. Driving me crazy.
Let me tell you something about the cold.
George hates the cold.
I ate the cold for breakfast.
Yeah, shit.
You want me to tell you why?
I don't know.
I'm going to tell you why.
Tell me why.
It's right behind me here. Stand by.
Stand by. He's such a baby though when it comes to the cold. He dresses up with this stuff, and it's unbelievable.
Best money I ever spent for cold weather. The Sims Insulated Challenger. Bibs and jacket. This baby's insulated with Primaloft,
Primaloft.
which is like, I mean, people on Mount Everest
Yeah,
climb Mount Everest with Primaloft.
absolutely. Here's that. Let me see if I can put it out here a little better.
I mean, that thing is bad ass.
There you go for you guys over here, and for
If
you guys
you're,
up here.
If you're like me and you like to fish in the winter, and
It
you
is.
can't stand the cold,
I
let
mean,
me tell you something.
This thing.
Put the bibs on and that jacket, and I mean, you're literally
It's definitely built
you're,
right.
You're bomb proof.
It's definitely built right.
Not to mention it's waterproof also.
Yeah.
I had it out last Sunday for a test run in a downpour,
Yeah.
and it was freezing cold and pouring down rain, and this bad boy is the bomb.
Yeah.
And don't forget the bibs.
Yeah, the bibs and yeah, well, that's the thing, and then we're going to get into that tonight about talking about that kind of stuff, and probably even some stuff on Tackle Talk here. But for everybody that's new, we do Tackle Talk section. We do a educational segment, and then a lot of times, not so much this time of year because there's not a lot going on, but we have a tournament section where we break down tournaments and we learn from those tournaments, the patterns. Why they fished, how they fished, some inside scoop on some of that stuff. So that's the other segment that we usually have. And then we don't always have it in the wintertime, but we do have comments about
We're
it.
back up live next week.
Yeah. Next week.
We have the last classic spot for the Bassmasters Classic will be determined next week.
Oh, okay.
It's the team championship. So it's pretty cool. If you're a team tournament guy and you fish a sanctioned circuit, of which there's many throughout the country, and you finish in whatever percentage of that circuit you need to fish in, it's based upon the size of the average field. You will get invited to fish the Bassmaster Team Championship, which I'm not sure where it's at this year because I didn't look into it. But last year it was on Table Rock.
Yeah.
And, it's kind of done like the college bracket championship where it's a team tournament format until they decide the champion. And then they go out the next day, team partner against team partner, and the winner goes to the Classic. So that starts on the 7th.
Yeah. That's a big deal.
And you can watch that next week. We'll be breaking that down, talking about that next week. As it just gets started.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of how we roll with this show. And again, for everybody that's just checking in, I see there's a bunch of guys checking in here. My name is Mike Acord. This is George Acord, and
everybody knows me.
Behind the camera, behind the camera is Nick, cameraman Nick, and we are Susquehanna Fish and Tackle, and you can also find us on sfttackle.com. Please go to all of our social media, Facebook page, and also our YouTube page, just under Susquehanna Fish and Tackle. You'll find us, and like and share it with all your friends, and that'll kind of keep you in the loop of what's going on.
Also TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah, and then we also have our TikTok and Instagram pages going, and it's just a great way for everybody to know what we're doing and how and what's happening in the industry. Anything new, anything hot, cutting edge, we're going to pop it on there quick and fast. Of course, social media is the best way of doing that. But you can also go on our website and get on our email list, which will give you some in-house specialty. We have email specials just for our email customers, and special information just for our email customers. So you might want to just do that also. So make sure you check that out. But anyway, I digress. So,
30 years ago, Senior, who would be, for those of you who've been around for a while, who I mean, Mike and I's dad, who's a partner in this business, silent, but nonetheless valuable. 30 years ago, he coined the phrase here, fishing spoken here. Now, that was before there was an internet, before, it was, telephones and
I think
print, print ads.
I think he made a patch on that, didn't he?
He made a patch. He had,
A logo kind
he
of.
had our,
It's on our logo right here.
yeah, it's right there.
Fishing spoken here. This is what he made up 30 years ago.
He had to come up with that. And that's what we do. We talk fishing.
Yeah.
Of course, it's grown a little bit since then, but the concept is the same.
Yeah. And
that's what this show's all about. This show is, for those of you who are new to this show, we like to have a good time. B, we're very serious, hardcore fishermen here at the shop. Everyone that works here is got the addiction.
The bug, baby. The bass bug, the fishing bug. We fish it all.
We fish for everything at all different levels, all over the country, and we love doing this show every Thursday. So that's kind of the genesis of it, anyways.
Okay, let's get this show going. First part of our show we'd like to call Tackle Talk.
Reboot.
So, as everybody knows, this is where we talk about some of the new products that came out and are coming out. Some stuff maybe that's valid for the time of year that we'll bust out and we'll talk about. But we'll talk about tackle pretty much throughout the whole show, on and off about different things. So that's something we're definitely going to exploit, because there is tackle that does make a difference in fishing. There is products that either come out new or products that are out, that been out for a while. There's products that are important that people need to know. You may not be fishing it, you may not know about it, but we talk about them. We talk about the hot stuff, the stuff that's catching fish. None of this big box stuff. We talk about the hardcore tackle, the colors, the baits that catch fish and that are catching fish, not only here, but everywhere in the country. You know what I mean, Nick?
And what's so cool about this part of the show is, if the viewers, listeners, many of them would never know what's out there unless, we let you know.
Yeah.
And how it works, and what you can expect, because otherwise, hey, you just keep throwing the same thing over and over and over.
That's right. That's right. So that's why we bring this segment, because plus we got a lot of new stuff that comes through the doors, and we got to keep everybody up to date on what's new and what's hot. So speaking of that, what we got, Big Jake?
Oh, we got some new and we got some hot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We're going to talk about a few things here. We're going to start off with a couple of baits, that have a little curb appeal, as they say in the car business. We have just received the latest special color.
Oh, from Megabass.
Yeah, they like to call it the Respect Series.
Respect Series from Megabass.
If you're an old head, if you've been around this game for a minute, this color here is called TLC. And it's available in the 110. It's available in the 110 Junior. And of course, as they usually do, it's available in the Pop Max.
Yeah,
try to get this little.
It's got a almost a see-through, a see-through side to it, but the back is painted nice, and the bottom is chartreuse, as you can see. So it gives off, that it's like it kind of reminds you of
that's the Junior.
Yeah, it kind of reminds you of the chartreuse belly of the Allegheny bone color. It has that chartreuse on the belly. But it also, this is what's cool about this, George, and I like to show people, is how back color changes the whole entire bait. Okay? There's no paint on the side of this bait. It's just back color that gives it that different shadow. So when we talk about back color, this is kind of what it does. just the back color will change the whole profile of the bait. So when you're talking about a chrome blue back as opposed to a chrome black back, or a blue back as opposed to a shad color back like that, it changes the whole profile, the whole color of the bait. And this is a perfect example.
That's an old school color.
This is going to be hot right here.
Well, it was hot.
No, I'm saying this is going to be hot in here. People, this is going to go quick. So
that color, it's a little bit different than the original version of TLC, but that color was a fish catching son of a gun back at in the 90s.
Yeah.
When Megabass was first making an appearance over here, and it was hard to come by.
Oh yeah.
So this is TLC 110 and the junior. There's your size comparison there. And then Pop Max, limited quantities, of course. Feel free to call in or stop by. Just don't call in tonight because we're not going to answer the phone. And grab yourself some TLC. It's a good little color. It's a good little color that used to produce real well for us. That just came in today. We weren't even expecting it, so it was a pleasant surprise.
Yep.
So another bait that we want to highlight for you, and we only got one size in so far.
George, Matthew Weimer, don't go chasing waterfalls after that color. You get that?
Some things are better left unsaid.
You get it.
I try not to listen to that kind of music. I actually like both kinds of music, country and Western, and that doesn't fall in that category.
I like it, Matthew. I like it a lot. That brings back a lot of old memories right there.
Doesn't take much to amuse you, does
I
it?
love it, man. That's cool.
Yeah. Are you done now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So another bait that we're going to highlight for you, and we only have the small size in now. This is called the Money Badger, which is a new line of crankbaits from Berkley, and it comes in 4 different sizes. That's the little 4. Now, to get an idea on the size of that bait, this right here,
This is a beer can.
like here's a ruler. Like there's a ruler. I mean, you can show them on the ruler how big it is.
Yeah,
it's a small bait,
it's just a little bitty
but it gets down in that 4 foot range, and it's castable. Okay. And it's got the fusion hooks on it. Now, full disclosure, we have not fished these baits yet.
Not yet.
We haven't gotten any. This is the first we've seen them, was like a week ago.
There's a definite time and place for those, George.
Have no idea. Have no idea how this bait's going to fish. Supposedly, according to the hype from the Berkley machine, it's got that balsa wobble. It's got that, that pivot of a Spro rock crawler. We will find out, and we will let you know. We got a little homework to do because we have a couple crankbaits that are new that we are going to fish this weekend, and then we're going to come back next week and let you know about them. But, tonight's show is winter fishing, because most of the country is in winter. There are places where it's pretty damn warm, but this ain't one of them. So, sometimes in winter you downsize to these micro cranks. Spro makes that little John micro DD, the little 40. This is right in that range. Okay.
Yeah. You remember the little Lucky Craft bait that they came out with, and we had that little time and place for. I think
there was that
post spawn, the end of the spawn, post spawn, George, when all that fries around.
Winter.
Wintertime when there's, when the bites reel off, but you know what I'm saying? The that fry comes around.
That little spro that we were fishing last year, the little DD40
Yeah.
micro mini John unit.
Yeah. The only problem with these baits, and you guys got to be really careful with, is the hook size. They're these baits mimic that fry hatch or fish that are just really like lethargic and not really chasing after anything big.
Well, there are some options.
You've got to watch those hooks. Now you can upsize some hooks, but
there are some options here.
You got to be careful with that.
You can upsize the belly hook and leave the tail hook the same.
Yeah.
Or as Rick Clunn used to like to do it, you could put a big ass tail hook on and take the belly hook off.
Yeah. So there is some things that you have to check how it affects the action on every lure. When you start messing with hooks, you got to run it out of the package because that's the way they design it. And then you got to, when you change your hooks, you should run it and look at it with your hook change and make sure it didn't take away from the actual action of the lure. But fishing it right out of the package, if you guys are going to fish out of the package, you want to make sure you have a real nice soft tipped rod. I would even recommend and say that this is a perfect bait for a spinning rod, George.
A spinning rod or some of the specialty.
Yeah, the BFS
lightweight.
type rods.
So what we have here is a 610 light power. It's a BFS glass rod. Grab that tip, Mike.
Yep.
This rod right here will crank your little micro cranks. This will crank your this will crank this little money badger. This will crank that little DD little 40 John. All your small baits. This is a BFS glass rod.
Yeah. And they hit this run right. This has a really nice fast little tip on it.
This time of the year, one of our keys to winter fishing is downsizing your line. This rod will comfortably fish an 8-pound line.
Yeah.
With these baits.
And you can see I'm not putting a lot of pressure, so you got that real soft tip.
There's plenty of backbone here.
But
I got a lot of pressure on me.
I'm just saying. I'm saying for the tip.
Right, and I'm saying the strength.
Well, yeah, but first the tip. The tip is what allows you to throw these types of baits, and that's what BFS is all about. They have to put a certain type of tip on there, and I'm telling you, it's like a 2-stage tip. It's got like a 2-inch section, 3-inch section, 4-inch section, and then into a second section right here that's different than a lot of rods. I mean, I was talking to and flipping these rods around because it's going to be a big craze. BFS is going to be a big craze, this light tackle stuff, and it's going to start really happening. And everybody's making them, and they're all making them different. Some of them are really wobbly all the way through the rod. Some of them are fast. Some of them are extra fast. They're just going to be a whole bunch of different ones. But what I like about that Curado rod is that it's in between.
Well, that's a glass rod too.
Yeah,
that's a crankbait rod.
It's a crankbait rod. It's an in-betweener that it has a ton of power to get the fish out of the cover, but it allows you to make accurate casts with really small baits, and that's the key. That's the key to that.
Well, yeah, when you're looking at a small little crankbait like this. Now this little bait is let's see what the weight is on here. 1/5 of an ounce.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
4 to 7 feet.
1/5 of an ounce.
2 inches long.
Is not hard to cast. Now something that's, a dart like if you took a 1/5 ounce Ned head and put a little TRD on it,
you throw it a mile.
You can throw it a country mile. Now this is going to have a little bit of wander to it.
She's going to do some kiting on you on the cast.
Yeah, I mean, Mike, a lot of this wintertime cranking is small, light baits.
Yeah.
Paul Batters is on here talking about a SR5 Shad Rap. Well, check this out. That is an SR5 Shad Rap, okay?
Yeah.
That bad boy has caught tractor trailer loads of giant bass in the wintertime. If you look at the cold weather tournaments. Look at the Classic since they moved it to late winter,
Yeah.
early spring. You know, you get to Hartwell a couple years ago where the Classic was. It was 28 to 30 degrees in the morning. The water temperature was real cold, and the anglers were throwing the Shad Rap big time. Now, you'll always get into these Shad Rap conversations where they'll upsize the hooks to add weight. They'll use suspend dots and suspend strips to add weight. These are balsa baits. They're pretty consistent, but, you know, every one of them is going to need a little bit of tweaking. That's why the suspend dot, the suspend strip thing works so well once you get it close, right? And, you know, this whole small crankbait conversation kind of spun off with this
Yeah.
little money badger, but
Yeah.
that little BFS rod will throw that number 5 Shad Rap.
Yeah. This is 4 to 9 feet. It's almost the same as that one.
Yeah, it's probably 3/16 of an ounce.
It's 3/16, and it's
Most-
5 centimeters, 2 inches long. So
Most
it's-
people are going to throw a Shad Rap number 5 on a spinning rod. Very few people are going to throw that on a casting rod. Now, with this whole BFS thing, we have super free spools. We have light rods that are designed to cast these kind of baits exclusively. I think you're going to see a huge shift in these micro baits to that style of rod
Yeah.
as opposed to a spinning rod. I don't frown upon a spinning rod. I don't mind a spinning rod. I just don't like winding baits on a spinning rod. I don't like winding a crankbait on a spinning rod. I don't like winding any bait that you wind. I don't like to have on a spinning rod personally.
Yeah.
So for me, being able to cast a
Little bait.
3/16 quarter ounce
Yeah.
bait on 8-pound line on a glass crankbait rod,
Well, let's
I'm happy with that.
all right. So let's just be honest with this. Let's just be honest. You know, it does take a skilled caster, somebody that, you know, that is skilled at it, to be able to throw light. I don't care if it's a BFS rod or not. It's going to take a little bit of skill to cast those light crankbaits. You can do it, no problem, and it's great. And I like it. And George likes it because we do this stuff. But for the guys just getting into it, it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve for you to throw those small little baits. So, you know, that's where the spinning rod comes in, and don't be afraid to do that on a spinning rod. But, you know, like George said, you can control your fish better. You can control the bait better in his mind on that, and mine too, because I'd rather do it on a bait caster too. But we have, our thumbs are trained well, and it's just something you have to train your thumb and make sure. I mean, these reels are very, very advanced now, but those light baits, man, you really got to be trained to do it. And anybody can learn it. I'm just saying there's a little bit of learning curve for it.
Listen, these baits were designed to be fished on spinning rods.
Yeah.
90% of the people have fished and will fish these small baits, but with this revolution that's taken place on what's now got a little nickname to it, BFS.
BFS, right.
You know, we got to have that name.
Yeah.
This is doable, man. You get the little reel with the shallow spool, the fast spool, or if you have like a nice, in the Shimano lineup, a nice reel with an MGL spool. You follow what I mean by that? You know, those reels will cast like a 70 Corrado. Okay, that's a BFS Corrado, a 70 Corrado, MGL, a 150 Corrado, MGL, any of their MGL spooled reels. You know, if you get into the Daiwa lineup, the Tatula SV, any of their SV spools, particularly the 70 size or the 100 size SV, those will all cast those little baits. Now, just because they will cast them doesn't mean that we can cast them. So there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve there. But we're in this prime winter season now. for cranking small baits.
Yeah.
And listen, this fits.
What do you got, Nick?
Mike, before you put that reel away, so what makes that a BFS reel?
Well, it's this reel is designed for fast revolution of spool. So it's a really light style of spool. It's light for startup inertia. So they designed this for the startup inertia to be able to throw a 3/16, an 1/8 ounce. They had to change something. So they changed the spool and designed it to start up quicker. That's just the main thing. Now, George has all the technical terms for it. There's a million technical terms for it, but that's the main thing, is just to get this thing to spin a lot faster and quicker with startup inertia. You talk about that in spinning reels, that would be like the carbon fiber rotors, where they're lighter, the rotors are lighter, or the Daiwa air rotor. And all that's for is to start up your reel when you start reeling that there's no resistance or very little resistance. This one's on the cast, very little resistance from the get-go. So that's what that's all about. And the other thing is you can see the spool's super shallow. And that shallow spool is because if you start putting 6-pound test on these things, an 8-pound test on these things, and you have a regular spool, it's going to take you a ton of line to fill them up. Well, this doesn't. You don't need that.
Well, there's a couple aspects to that too.
Yeah,
You're not casting real far. So
right.
just by very nature of these really lightweight baits,
Yeah,
they're only going to cast so far.
exactly.
They're very light.
Yeah, so a 30-yard cast, 40-yard cast.
Well, I mean, a 30-yard cast is spectacular.
Is what you're trying to get as a 30-yard cast.
That's a spectacular cast.
Yeah,
So I mean,
20-yard.
that's what these reels are designed to do. But if you have the right rod and the right line and the fast spool, you can do it. It doesn't have to say BFS.
Yeah, let us know on TikTok there if you guys are big BFS fans or if anybody's doing BFS. Just double tap that screen there and tell us whether or not that's something you like to do. It's starting. We don't. The level of this is just getting started, so it's kind of cool to see what how it's going to end up. Really where this is going to end up, but it's pretty cool stuff. What else you got, George?
Well. Not a whole lot else that I really wanted to dive into deeply. I do have a couple specials.
Oh, tackle specials. Here we go.
So because of this BFS rod and reel combo that we looked at, I wanted to offer that as a combo. You can come into the shop and pick it up. You can call. And I'm going to add some swag to it. I'm going to add and I probably should have grabbed this stuff, but I'm going to add a waterproof roll top Shimano bag. And matter of fact, let me grab that stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a great little deal. This is a great little package that'll work for you guys for Christmas present. BFS combo to get this thing started. George has graciously got this stuff and put a lot of, nice thought into the add-ons of that. So let's see what he got here. If he can get this over here. There we go.
Yeah. So I've got the combo is that that's what do you need, boss?
No, I'm just telling you.
The combo is that 610 rod with the BFS Corrado reel, and you're going to get the roll top Shimano waterproof bag. You're going to get the little key fob so your partner doesn't throw your keys in the river. You're going to get the buff, and you're going to get a Shimano World Pop, which is their World Series World Pop topwater bait. So that's a little special there. That's part of my Tackle Shop Live program for you there. And the other thing I have is a Spro special because we're going to be talking about some flat sides tonight. I've got the Spro Little John, and you can come in the shop. You can go online. You can call in on the phone. But if you buy 6 of those, we're going to give you a Spro hat. We have the trucker hat, their new trucker hat with the leather patch. We have their new trucker hat camo with the white and green Spro logo. We have the flat brim trucker with the black logo. Or beanie hats. Because Gamakatsu owns Spro, we have a Gamakatsu beanie. We have a Spro beanie, roll-up style with a leather patch. We also have that in camo.
Yep.
So, you can have any one of those hats with a 6-pack of Little Johns. And you can mix and match any Little John you want. We carry every single Little John they make.
Well, there you have it, guys. There's some specials for you.
Couple specials.
And some new products that came in, some new stuff that we wanted to talk about, and some baits. Check them out. If you have any questions, you can call here. You can go online and research them on sfttackle.com or call the shop here at Susquehanna Fish and Tackle.
So the last couple things I have for you guys under Tackle Talk is some announcements. We got another shipment of Garmin Panoptix Plus systems in today. That's the LVS 34 system. And we also got in some of the LVS 34 transducers to where you can just update your existing system. They're back in stock.
There you go.
Wanted to make that announcement. We also got back in stock something that's been out of stock nationwide for almost 2 years, Spro Rats. Now, the important thing here to remember is we only got one size in. We got the 40 size of Spro Rat in. So I know a lot of you have given up all hope of ever seeing Spro Rats again.
Never seeing Spro Rats again. They're
But
back in the house. We're
calm
infested.
down.
We're infested with rats, ladies and gentlemen.
Calm down.
We are infested. Fix it up. Get
And
rid of
that-
our rats problem for us.
That is our Tackle Talk program for
Beautiful.
today.
Beautiful.
Oh, Dirty Jigs are back in stock, heavy duty too. Dirty Jigs was gone.
Yeah.
Dirty Jigs are back, heavy duty.
Oh, interesting little tidbit for you guys. Dirty Jigs was sold to another company, and I think this other company is going to be able to keep up with production.
Nichols
Nichols.
Actually the last year of Dirty Jigs existence,
Yeah.
Nichols made all their baits for them anyways.
Yeah. But I think with dealing with Nichols, it's going to be a lot better. The production's going to be way up, and we're going to be able to keep the Dirty Jigs in stock. And so we'll see how that all goes for all you Dirty Jig knuckleheads, because we all love them. We all love them Dirty Jigs.
Yeah, we got a pretty good shipment in, and we also have a really big shipment scheduled for the beginning of January, just in time for Bass Fest.
All right, there you have it. Tackle Talk is in the books, and now we're going to move to our favorite part of the show, and that is talking about wintertime smallmouth fishing. All right.
I hope we're going to talk about wintertime bass fishing and not just smallmouth.
Yeah.
Because I got a lot of talk on largemouth.
Yeah, we got all kinds of talk on wintertime fishing. All kinds of talk on it. So this is one of our favorite times of the year is the wintertime fishing. And it's not just that it's a challenge that's that we really like. George and I love that challenge of finding them and then figuring out how to get them to bite, but it's also a time of the year where you can catch some monster fish, and they're just giant. They're heavy. So one of the heaviest times of the year, other than the spawn, it's one of the heaviest times of the year that your fish are going to be there. The heaviest. So I absolutely love it. And so we're going to get into this and see what it takes to catch these fish and some of the stuff we use to catch the fish in these cold water temperatures. And their temperatures that we're talking about are pretty chilly.
Yeah, I mean, wintertime temperatures are different in different parts of the country, but up where we live, we're fishing in the in the mid 30s right now.
Yeah.
To upper 30s, and that's by definition winter. There's other places where where we fished, for example, Potomac River, where you don't see too much of the 30s unless it's really, really winter, hardcore ice on the water. But low 40s, which is, for that fishery, that's hardcore winter too.
Mm-hmm.
So, by definition, it's going to be varying from where you're at, but it's a time of the year that's both challenging, but it's also very rewarding, because one of the things fish do in the winter is they school up.
Yep.
It's kind of like those fall schools that we wait to form. They feed all fall into early winter, and they kind of stay together.
And this is where you start hearing the term wintering hole, right, George?
Yeah. So wintering holes, wintering areas. These fish are eventually going to migrate into them.
Mm.
Now, I've been getting a pretty good education the last few years. It's not quite as radical as I used to think it was. A lot of fish stay a lot shallower than, at least me, than I used to believe. I used to believe, all these fish went to the deepest water around. And, 7-8 years ago, especially in tidal water, I started catching fish in 4-5 foot of water. The last couple years in my smallmouth river fishing, I've caught more fish in 5 and 6 foot of water than I've caught in deeper than 6 foot of water. And, it's depth is important. Bait is more important. And a protection from current is the most important. And why I say that is if you have that protection from current, the bait is going to go there and the bass will follow. So, get that, look at your areas where you're fishing, because we always talk location. Location is it's just like real estate, man. It's the most important thing out there. Look at your areas where you're fishing, look at the current, look at the protection from that current, and then look for the bait, and you will find the bass, guaranteed. And there won't be just one. Where you find one, you find many.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think one of the big things there, like George said, is definitely that protected areas, but also, it's usually these wintering areas are where the sun beats on it the best, where the water can warm up a little bit and get those degrees or two. You might be the west side of a certain body of water. It might be, the northwest side or the southwest side, but it's usually where the sun comes up in the morning and starts beating on that water and beats on that water longer and longer and longer. And, those fish may pull off and get in that little deeper water, 10, 12 feet. But when that water starts warming up, they'll start rolling up and following that bait up a little bit shallower, and they'll want to roll up and they'll feed. So this is a time of year where you don't necessarily have to get up super early in the morning. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, right. You got me.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah. So, getting there at the crack of dawn, when the frost is super thick on your windshields or, still on your boat, isn't necessarily that important. because those, I mean, not that you won't catch fish
No, and that's an interesting point.
Yeah, not that you won't catch fish right away in the morning. You will catch a couple, but as that water temperature
You're right.
tweaks up a little bit, those fish become more active. And the reason they become active is because the bait starts to move towards that warmer temperature up towards the surface and starts to move. And once that movement of that bait starts, that triggers the fish to start feeding. And it may still be a bottom bite. It may still be something like in between, but those fish will follow that bait. Ain't
Great points. And one thing about podcasts and live shows is you can make a statement and you can die on that hill. You know what I'm saying? You can pull out the sword and freaking fight to the death on that hill. And everybody's slinging arrows at you. But I am going to follow up a little bit with what Mike says there. Couple of really sharp points he made. And I'll tell you, two in the same sentence is killer.
Time out.
Yeah.
Hold up, everybody. Hold
two
up.
in the same sentence is killer.
I honestly feel like that I was complimented.
We're having a moment.
Mike, did you pay him before this?
I didn't, but time out, everybody.
We're having a moment, you and I.
This is history.
Well, we've been
Tackle Shop Live history. I got commented by my brother George.
We've been grooving all week, because we're in heavy hardcore 2023 prep mode.
Yeah.
And the minds have been melding. It's a Vulcan thing. But
well, I mean, I didn't say nothing that you didn't, that you wouldn't have.
But what I want to echo here is, you don't have to get up real early in the morning. As a matter of fact, there's a fantastic bite that occurs once that sun gets up and gets on the water at that angle. That's usually 10:30. But there is that first morning feeding frenzy.
Always. That
may be real short, maybe, a little longer, but it can be very valuable to get up.
Well, I think that's a light trigger thing, isn't it?
It has to be something to do with that because it's, it's very early. It can be 20 degrees out. And you'll have that first thing bite. But
you know what that is, George? That's like you laying in bed, right? And I got a fishing rod with like this awesome what would it be? A Miller Lite hanging on it, and I drop it right in front of your nose, and all of a sudden the light starts coming on it, and you're like, oh yeah, they're grabbing that thing,
Well, only if I'm on vacation.
I think it's that first light syndrome, and you're gonna have it all times of the years. And that's why guys say about just even in the summertime, that first light bite,
Well, I just think it's interesting that there's a definite
in the wintertime.
There's a definite bite.
Guess what though? I'll forgo that one.
I usually miss that one myself. I usually do miss that.
As I'm telling you right now, man, I don't know if any of you guys know about this, and some of you will. But when you get up in the morning and it's say the daylight is at 7, and you get up at 5 and you walk outside and you're like, dang, that's cold, but you're like, geez, get in a truck, you're driving, like, what am I doing? What am I doing this for? And you get down to the boat ramp and you're sitting there and you're getting your stuff together. And all of a sudden, right before that light comes up, it gets colder.
It does. It
gets brutal cold.
There's a serious temperature drop.
Right at almost the crack, right, George?
In that last, 20 minutes before true daybreak.
God.
We fished for years. We fished Winter League tournaments. On the Upper Chesapeake Bay, we fished what was called Winter League, and tournament fishermen just have to be out there at the crack of dawn. I mean, if it was my Winter League, it'd be like 8 o'clock blast off. But
I'm telling you, man,
I'm just saying, the tournament guys have got to be out there. They got to be out there in the dark.
Yeah, and
invariably, you'd put the boat in, and it would be, you'd be in this little trend where the weather had been improving, and you'd be, yes, this isn't too bad, and. You're putting on your bibs and your jacket and your gloves and your hat and I can do this, and you get your rods out and you lay up the arsenal for the day. That's always a highlight of my morning. Strapping down the frickin'
weaponry,
weapons of mass destruction. you might want to tweak a bait or two. And then all of a sudden you realize that it is just dropped.
It's just
There's
gets cold.
frost all over your boat.
Yeah, it just
Your
happens.
carpet's
Settles
frozen.
settles in on you.
And then that sun breaks and that bite triggers. So
Yeah.
whatever that is, we kind of beat this up and
we
got off track a little bit.
It's all good information.
But it is good information. But typically that morning bite, that winter bite improves as the day goes on, especially on those really cold snaps. But here's the most important thing that we want to tell you about picking your winter fishing times.
Yeah, the weather. This
is something we say over and over countless times. There's a lot of people that are on here that know exactly what I'm going to say. And it's called the 3-day rule. And you can chisel this in rock. You can write this down. This is one thing. This is another hill I'll die on. So look at your weather. And this holds true in the spring, late winter, early spring, pre-spawn, and it really holds true now. And I don't care where you are in this country, it holds true. Look at your weather. Look at your cold front that comes in. Look when that cold front comes in. Our cold front just came in last night. So here we are, Thursday. Tonight's going to be cold. Tomorrow is going to be the beginning of day 1, right?
Yeah.
So look at your nighttime temperatures. You want improvement on your nighttime temperatures. You want steady or improving daytime temperatures. You want stable weather, okay? And if you look at the weather in the winter, it's front after front after front, and they're usually 3, 4, 5 days apart. So a couple factors on the 3-day rule is A, the weather gets stable. By day 2, 2.5, you're catching fish. Good. By day 3, if you're lucky enough to get that far, the bite is exceptional. Now, this is assuming you didn't get like some kind of major rain event when that cold front came through and your water didn't get all blown out. We're going to assume some good things here, okay?
Yeah. Just typical.
Pay attention to that weather. Don't be taken surprised, because I'm not telling you to not go fishing, but what I am telling you to do is if your day to go is the day after the stable weather and that big cold crusher comes in, which some days we have to go then, you're going to want to start your day off and fish your techniques way slower, way more finesse. The spinning rod will be in play. The shaky head with the little worm will be in play. The drop shot with the short leader and the small bait will be in play.
Yeah.
And the blade bait will be in play.
Yeah.
Okay. That's because, you got busted, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Stick with that concept.
I just want to say first, I just want to bust in here real quick and say, thanks everybody for stopping again here. And I just wanted to say hi to everybody. And also to say to the TikTok guys, I'm sorry we can't comment right now. We're going to get a better system where we can comment to you guys and listen to your comments and stuff and kind of go along with you once we get a better system. But welcome to Tackle Shop Live. It's every Thursday night here. All of our members on Facebook and YouTube, they know what time it is. It's 7:00. You can set the clock to it on Thursday nights. Tackle Shop Live, where we get into all this kind of stuff that you're listening to tonight. We appreciate everybody stopping by. But yeah, I mean, absolutely, George. I mean, that's exactly true. Now, what else goes on when you're, what baits really are kicking in, and how are you fishing those baits when it comes to those water conditions? Now, you said something first. You said you got to really slow down for this. And then what about that third day also? How do you kind of fish your baits for all that?
What I was referring to is planning your day out. You got to start somewhere. Okay. We already talked about some locations. We talked about off current. We talked about presence of bait. If it's off current, presence of bait, fish are there. End of discussion. We talked about this 3-day rule, which is the most important thing that you can know in winter fishing.
Mm-hmm.
And to recap, if your day, if it's a winter league tournament or if it's your day off work or whatever, if your day coincides with the snap after that 3-day rule, you're going to have to go in there with a very finesse mindset.
Yeah.
And we talked about the shaky head, the drop shot with a short leader, the blade bait,
Yep.
and the finesse jig. Okay, that's
Yeah.
going to be how you're going to want to attack that. The crankbait, no. The jerk bait, no.
Yeah.
Maybe later in the day, but I doubt it. So rather than try to force the issue, recognize your conditions. Okay.
Yeah, a Ned rig is another really good one when it's
Ned rig, you
Yeah.
know, I'm not okay. I'm going to show you what a royal flush looks like in the winter. and I'm going to go, I'm going to show my hand. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just saying purple bags rule in the winter. And I'm not, I'm buying these just like you are,
that
you've heard me refer to them as the evil empire. This stuff in the winter is a difference maker.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trimming my jig with the little chigger crawl. I'm trimming my jig with the little chunk.
Yeah.
The little chigger crawl and the chunk.
Yeah.
That's how I'm trimming my jig.
Yeah. And
I'm
it's
fishing my Ned rig.
well, the big thing you're saying here is, and if people don't know what these purple bags are, this is
If they don't know what these purple bags are, change your channel immediately.
no,
You tuned into
you
were looking for PBS, public broadcasting.
no,
You were looking for what's that one with the
That's not
castle
fair.
with the English people?
that's not fair.
What do
That's
they
not
call
fair.
that? What's that one called? That's what you were looking for. Oh, somebody on here will clue in because they're on the wrong channel.
Yeah, but it's and the big thing it's the Max Scent plastic, so it has a scent cooked into the plastic. But along those lines of scent, just scent itself this time of year is super important.
It is.
It makes a super big difference in what you catch and the bites you get. There's a lot of times during the year you don't need to worry about it, man. They just freaking eat it no matter what. They see something flicking around, they're just grabbing it. But when these fish are like super slow and they're in this winter mode where they want to eat, but they're just kind of lethargic, especially at the first part of that worming trend. You got to fish, you got to let it sit there. And if you let it sit there with scent on it, they will bite it more oftentimes than not.
Preach. Brother.
Than if it's a piece of plastic doesn't have scent on it. So no matter
it makes a difference.
the nice thing is with Max Scent is that it's cooked in there, it's in that plastic, it oozes all day long as you're using it, and it's a scent that's scientifically proven. But you got things like Smelly Jelly, which George and I use religiously. You got all kinds of
bait fuel.
Bait fuel.
What about the super stack? Max Scent soaked in bait fuel and topped off with Smelly Jelly anise. I mean that right there.
So the key point is how it's like that's like the smack daddy of all meals right there.
Like Piccolo, a hitworm trailer on a hair jig.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, don't be afraid to put a flatworm on there too, Mike.
Yeah. Yeah.
Trust me on that, dog.
So that scent is a key ingredient to cold water fishing, because a lot of these times when George is talking about fishing slow on this first part of this trend, this warming trend, say day 1.5 to the beginning part of day 2, there's a lot of times where you're making a cast on a pylon, on a
rock pile,
on a little drop off ledge,
a little trough,
creek channel turn, or a little trough
between two ledges,
and you got to let it lay there.
You're You're just shaking it.
You're not even moving it an inch. You're just letting it lay there and soak for the longest time. And then you might move it an inch and let it soak again. And that word soak is something that you're going to hear a lot about winter fishing, letting your bait soak on a spot, because trust me, the scent is getting into them and the scent is driving them into that triggering where they'll just go down and suck it in. That really helps that fish to make the decision to take the bite,
Well,
to take the bait.
and the other aspect to that is, fish are very curious. So when that bait's in their domain,
Yeah.
even if they're lethargic and they're not, their strike zone is super small.
Yeah.
Like right here is my strike zone. This is not my strike zone, and that bait's down there. Just the littlest trigger, such as getting partially hung up on the bottom. Now, last Sunday when I fished, or it may have been Thanksgiving. I think it was Thanksgiving when I fished. There was 2 times in a matter of minutes that I was snagged on the bottom. I popped my bait free and got bit.
Yeah.
I literally popped the bait free, picked up the slack, and felt a bite.
Yeah.
And why that happens frequently is, you're in their area. They're not super aggressive. That bait pops off that snag and makes a violent, quick move and stops. They eat it.
Yeah.
It's a reaction.
It is.
When you get that bait hung up, and it can be, we're going to talk about blade baits in a little bit and a little blade bait trick.
Yeah.
It can be, any kind of a bait. It can be anything you're fishing on the bottom. And there's a difference between being, semi hung up and break it off hung up. And it's usually the difference of that is usually the angler's fault. So in other words, most times that you think you're hung up, if you recognize that before you pretty much lose your mind and start jerking on the bait and cursing and swearing and raising hell, you're going to get that bait free. Not only that, it's a trigger.
Yeah.
So you want to feel that, okay, I think I might be tight. Pop that line out to the side, load it, and pop it. You don't have to be super aggressive. You're looking for some stretch and some release, which is a big reason why if you're fishing a braid to a leader on a spinning rod, make that leader long.
You need a little stretch.
Because you need some stretch.
You need some stretch.
And if you're not,
Little long,
yet.
little long meaning even 10 to 12 feet.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
For this time of year.
Now, if you're fishing shallow water, I might back it down a little bit, or else your freaking braid will be up in your reel.
Yeah. Well,
but
while we're talking about that, George, the braided line, there was a question on here about line size. And it was Mark asked a question, and you downsize line this time of year. So the answer to that is absolutely. You go down as small as you possibly can to fish the structure that you're fishing. I promise you that a man or a lady who is throwing a 6-pound line next to a man or a lady that is throwing a 10-pound line with a small bait on it, a hair jig or a little Ned rig or some of these baits, the 6-pound line is going to get bit a lot better. Now, having said that, there's a lot of people that say, well, hell, how are you going to land a fish? Well, you got to play that by ear, because in some situations, an 8-pound is a light, super light line, or
even a 10.
Or even a 10 is a super light line. But you got to go as light and as thin as you possibly can to get those bites. And I'm telling you, the smaller of the line that you do, the more of the bites you're going to get, along with the presentation that we just talked about, that dead sticking, that slow presentation, that's setting there along with the scent. So you put all that stuff together, and these bottom bouncing baits, these baits you're fishing on the bottom, all of a sudden are these fish catching machines, and you're getting bit. And a lot of guys aren't, because you're doing it right. So pay attention to line diameter. This is a time of year when you're buying fluorocarbon. There's a million of them out there. Look at the diameters. Go down to pegs. You'll see the diameters change all the way through. And there's some really good quality fluorocarbons out there that are a little thinner diameter than the next, so it's really, really important to mess around with that diameter and mess around with that thin line to get the bait to do some cool stuff for you.
While you guys are talking about line, it's cold
Yeah.
and you start to get that ice build up.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that?
Well, I mean, that's a big thing. We just talked about that today with a fella, and he came in and he was looking for something to put on his line, number one, but also guides. Guides is a big problem.
I mean, you can get a little bit of relief from that, but if it's real cold,
I'll tell you right now, you put some that Real Line Magic,
and you do get a little bit of relief if you spray a line dressing, and it doesn't have to be Real Magic; it can be any brand you want. But if you spray a line dressing on your line, the ice will still form on your line and your guides, but you can knock it off real easy. It's a silicone dressing, is what it is.
Yeah.
So you're putting a layer down that the ice is building on. It's not building per se.
So
tight on that guide or tight on that line.
So we had a customer in here today. It was just up in New York fishing over at or up at Thousand Islands. Cold as hell, of course. It was 17 degrees in the morning when they launched a boat, and he had braided line on it, and braided line especially holds the water.
Yeah,
and it's really bad for freezing up. That's why I don't really like fishing braid in the winter. I like to go straight fluorocarbon on my rods in the hard part of winter, unless it's not 17 degrees. You can fish your braid as long as it doesn't get down in those 20s and those real low temperatures. But there's times where it is. It's like that in the morning or whatever. But he sprayed this stuff on his braid, and it just freed it all up. It didn't allow it to to be all kinky and stuff, and it just helped so much. But
yeah, you catch some relief off it. You catch some relief off of it.
Absolutely. And like George said, even when the guides start freezing up, you can just hit your rod and it shatters out a lot easier.
It does,
and busts off.
Comes off a lot easier.
So you might have to reapply a couple times during the day, but this is real magic right here. This stuff freaking works, for that. So that there is some stuff that you can do.
Yeah, I mean, it's a silicone dressing. So there's several of them on the market. We're big Real Magic fans, but
yeah,
just look at the ingredients.
Yeah,
if it's silicone, it's a winner, and that is a very important element of winter fishing.
Yeah, it
right?
is. Oh, it's huge element. Well, line itself is a huge thing, and it goes it's probably as big as the proper bait for the day.
Yeah, I mean,
diameter.
I fish a lot of lighter line in the winter, and I try to fish, thinner line in the winter because the water's clearer.
Mm-hmm.
The water's not as dense.
Right. So what happens?
It clears up. It gets real clear.
Why does it clear up?
It can't hold the particles in suspension.
Yeah, it changes the content, the complex of the water,
it's
and
less dense.
All those particles just drop out, and that's why you see these beautiful, clear. When you're walking around a lake or pond, you're looking at like, man, this water's crystal clear. That's because all that sediment's dropping out of that water, and it's laying on the bottom, and you can see right down. It's crazy clear. So yeah, this is where
if it's open water, if it's an open water. Not a lot of cover, I'm definitely dropping into the 6 and 7 pound line. And, one of the things we have in this world is just unbelievable tackle, just crazy, unbelievable tackle. You can go crazy in every aspect of your tackle.
Yeah.
Line's no different.
Yeah.
We have 5 pound tests. We have 6 pound tests. We have 7 pound tests, 8 pound test, 9 pound test. We have some of the greatest fluorocarbons you've ever seen.
You're right.
And if you look at your diameters,
yeah, they're all different.
You can get a really light. I was looking the other day, and I fished this last year. Shooter, Sunline shooter. It's really light. It's really thin, and it's brutally strong, right? So in an open water scenario, I'm going to that lighter line. But depending on your environment you're in, cover's cover. You can only get so long. You can only get so light on that line. If you're dragging a jig, a little finesse jig through a brush pile or through like something we fish a lot on tidal water is an old barge wreck. You know, there's that's scuttled on a drop off in a wintering type hole. You know, you start dragging a jig through that, yeah, you're going to need a little bit of line behind you to get that fish out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing about winter fishing that's really important when you're lightening down. Remember this: the fish's mouths are very hard. So one of the things you can do to help yourself in all these aspects is sharpen your hooks.
Gosh,
Okay?
this is definitely a time of year for that, bro.
Sharpen your hooks. You know, you should be able to take that hook and drag it on your thumbnail, and it should stick. This is a Gamakatsu, you know, on a Spro crankbait.
Bro, you got to
and it
start using
sticks.
another thumbnail, man. That thing is nasty.
This one here got caught with a 16-ounce framing hammer.
Oh, that's freaking.
She took a hard knock.
Yeah, that's.
You should see the hammer.
A good one. Right.
All right,
so,
Mike,
so
so-
I mean that's a big key, sharp hooks, because you know a lot of these bites are, and I don't want to talk about that in a minute. The bite, you know, the bite in wintertime fishing
Wishy.
is something that you guys,
Not always.
I know, but I'm just saying the bite when you're fishing in the wintertime in cold water, and these are, you know, cold-blooded fish, you know, is a very different bite. It's what they call a pressure bite, you know, and a pressure bite is I don't, the best way that I put it is it's like when you're dragging something along and it feels like there's a leaf on there that you picked up off the bottom, or a piece of grass hanging on your hook. You know, you get that feeling where it's just a little extra weight on there, but it's coming with you a little bit. That's the kind of bite that you're looking for. Now, the problem with that is that it's not always the nicest days out there to go fishing. There's always some wind and breeze, so you're getting a little loop in your line, a little bend in your line. This is where I explain to people that make sure you're fishing your stuff on the best rod that you have, or if you're going to go out and buy a rod for this type of fishing, or a rod that for increased sensitivity, buy a rod that you can, you know, that is your most expensive rod up there, and as long as it's a good quality company, that higher grade of graphite, that next level. If you guys were used to a $99 rod, maybe this is where you jump up to that 150 just to get that little extra. Or if you have that rod in your lineup, that's what you tie this stuff on, because you need that sensitivity to feel. So many times in my guide career over the years of guiding, you know, I'm sitting there watching a guy fishing, and I can tell just by the rod tip that he has a fish on there, just because the rod tip is flexed, and when he pulls it, it stays flexed when he goes down. It's just the weight's there, and he's just not feeling that thing. So not only is it a nice important to have a good rod, but then you got to learn that bite. You got to learn what that bite feels like. So George and I have a saying in here. What do we say always when we're fishing?
Hook sets are free.
Hook sets are free. Hook sets don't cost you a nickel.
Sometimes they do, though.
Sometimes it does. But this time of year, if you don't know what's going on and you don't know about that pressure bite, just set the hook. Very, very important just to set the hook and see, because I'm telling you, a lot of times when you're pulling, it feels like a piece of grass on there, and you just feel something that's a little heavier, that you're like, oh, that'll come off here. Let me just shake my rod. Well, when you're shaking your rod to get that leaf off, that fish spits it out. So anytime you start to feel that little bit of weight, just go down and set the hook. You know, and like George says, sometimes it costs you, but that's a learning curve that you need to learn. You know, it's something that you got to do. So we say hook sets are free. Just set the hook. If it's nothing there, then you know, well, that was a leaf, or you know, that was a piece of grass.
So question for you guys. I mean, you fished a lot of wintertime fishing, guiding, and all this. What is your number one rod and reel setup you think you caught the most fish on in the winter?
It's interesting because George and I and Corbin were just out fishing on Sunday. Miserable weather, you know, cold in the morning, breezy. So we had all that stuff. We were fishing 7'1" rods, he was fishing a 7-foot rod, and we were down to a 6/8 rod. We had braid to fluoro straight combinations going on, and it was very curious for me when I'm fishing those little finessey kind of baits right there, and I'm fishing a Ned rig, or I'm fishing a hair jig, or I'm fishing something small on the bottom. Believe it or not, the 6/8 rod over a 7-foot or a 7/1 with straight fluorocarbon and then a real light reel is actually more sensitive than the same exact rod in a 7/1 with straight fluorocarbon. It's amazing the difference. We're trying to figure that out, but we were fishing them back and forth side by side. And that's funny because one of my best rods for hair jig fishing was a 6-foot for years. I called it the Excalibur rod. I couldn't miss with it. It was 6-pound test fluorocarbon line with a hair jig on it, and you didn't want to be around me because I'd clean it out. I clean you out. So that to me is where you have that perfect balance. You got to really balance your rods perfectly to get that perfect connection between you, the line, the rod, and in your hand.
Yeah, I use a spinning rod a lot in the winter. Way more than I do any other time of the year. Couple of my key go-to winter techniques, no matter where I'm fishing, are spinning rod related. A small boot foot swim bait on a jig head, or if I'm in cover, a little light Texas rig, and I drag it as slow as paint drying. A Ned rig, obviously, and a blade bait. And I fish my blade baits exclusively on a spinning rod. Okay, and I pretty much fish all these techniques on the same rod. I like a 7 to a 7.2 medium powered rod. And if the cover's not too extreme, no more than an 8-pound fluorocarbon. I will go a little heavier on my blade bait if I'm fishing around cover, obviously. But that's my setup. That's my rod of choice. I can pretty much do the same thing with it. I usually have 1 or 2 with braid, 1 or 2 with fluoro. They're all between 7 and 7.2. The braid rods are way more versatile because I can change that leader in a heartbeat. If we load the boat up and go down to some tidal water fishing, and I get into some thicker, docks, marina type cover, and I'm catching some bigger fish, I'll jack that leader weight up.
Yeah.
I'll jack that leader weight up. If I'm open water, fishing or drop offs or in the river smallmouth fishing, and it's real cold and extreme, I'll cut that leader back. So it's real versatile that way. And that's just for my go-to winter techniques. That's 7 to 7.2 medium power. Fast to extra fast is where I live.
I just feel like there's a time where that straight fluorocarbon will definitely outfish braid. There's a time. I just feel like when that braid gets in there and starts grabbing that water, and it pulls, it'll pull your bait. It's just something about straight fluorocarbon, with small baits when you want to just dead stick this thing. There's just something about that combination. And there's something, and for me, honest to God, it's crazy how that little 6/8 difference between 7 and 7.1 to 6/8. It's just, it's uncanny the difference. George doesn't fish it. He has a feel for, you know what I mean?
I fish both
for 7 and 7.1. But honest to God, man, when you have that big old bend in your line, you're like, I need to feel this. That combination is that straight fluorocarbon combination, 8-pound test or even that 6 pound if you really have to go there. But 8 pound test straight fluorocarbon, man, it's on one of those rods is just amazing.
So, one thing I'd like to do here, Mike.
Let's talk about some more baits and some techniques.
One thing I'd like to do here is, irregardless of weather patterns, irregardless of location, one of the most deadly cold weather, cold water, wintertime baits is the blade bait.
Greatest bait ever.
Back in the day,
most frustrating son of a gun ever.
Back in the day, obviously, we fished the original old school Silver Buddy. You can't get any more plain Jane old school than that. A lead weight poured onto a metal stamped body.
Yeah, awesome.
With some cheap ass hooks.
Yeah.
Now they are sharp and you can catch a lot of fish on them. But if the money's on the line, you're going to want to modify the old Silver Buddy. Okay? If you're a Silver Buddy. So what I noticed with the Silver Buddy is, half of them don't even have a snap. They can't even throw a snap in.
They used to have the snaps in there.
They're supposed to. But
they had the nice hook on it.
They probably were in a late night bender packaging up freaking baits.
I haven't seen them for a while, man.
Nah, every now and again.
I think they're going on them.
So this bait right here,
COVID restriction.
You'll notice if you're a blade bait fisherman and you start toying with some of these new baits, you'll realize how subtle a lot of these new baits are, and how your Silver Buddy, which is what most of us old school guys grew up on, is what I would call the standard, obviously, but it's a little more radical than some of the new baits. Now, I have gone down that path because I am a tackle junkie, and I have found, for those of you who are out there in blade bait world, I have found some pretty good blade baits that offer different feels and different times. And I'm going to show you a couple of them, and then I'm going to give you some of George's top tips on blade bait fishing.
And these things I'm telling you right now, this Silver Buddy, the original Silver Buddy, that's no joke. This thing's no joke right here. This thing is a fish catching machine and is still our number one selling blade bait in the shop here for the hardcore blade bait guys. We still sell this as our number one bait.
So here we are with a Molex Trago Vibe. Okay.
Beautiful.
Now, that and that is a 1/2 ounce. So you'll notice that's a small profile for a 1/2 ounce. Here is another one of our favorites, although much harder to come by. Here's a Jackal Keyburn. That's with a K. It's a Keyburn 1/2 ounce. Now, the Keyburn is a little more tricky. It's got a circuit board body. So it's not a metal stamping. It's a circuit board body with a lead. The Trago Vibe is more traditional, a metal stamp body with a lead. Now, they went ahead and did, pimped out finishes on the Trago Vibe. But, there's just tons of them out there. Another one of our favorites is the Megabass. And this is the 3/8 ounce profile. Okay. Now, a couple little tips for your blade bait fishing. Try a couple different blade baits. Get to know the feel of them. All right. That's important. If you're a tournament fisherman and you're a Silver Buddy guy, you're going to have to make some tweaks on tournament day. You're going to want to put some split rings on that thing, and you're going to want to get yourself a better snap. Okay, so I normally go with like a Owner or a Gamakatsu or a Spro, real quality snap up here. And then I always do either an Owner or a Spro or a Gamakatsu split ring, what I would call a power split ring. So, you got to really like your Silver Buddies, because on tournament day, there's some maintenance that needs to be done. But I feel it's worth it if you're a Silver Buddy fan.
That makes a
And
difference, though, George,
keep in mind, Mike.
for landing the fish on with that split ring. It really allows
Yes, it does.
It really does.
Now, if you're in an environment like rock or wood's tricky. A snaggy environment, let's put it that way.
There's some times where you just can't fish this thing, George. Let's face it.
Right. But if you're in a snaggy environment, okay, take your side cutters on your treble hook and cut this front point off. Okay, so you're going to cut this off right here. And you're going to be left with a double hook. And that is going to cut your snags and losses down significantly. Okay, I'm not going to sit up here and quote numbers and what have you, but
It's interesting because
let's just say you can fish one blade bait
for a while.
for a lot longer than you think.
And it's interesting because the Molix and the Jackal,
They have doubles.
they come with doubles.
Yeah.
They come through with doubles. So it's
Split doubles.
yeah, it's interesting. They do that right off the bat.
They have a split double on them. And, there's a lot of other ones. Another one of our really good blades that we like is called the Demiki Vault.
Yeah. Mickey Vault.
And then you
fantastic.
have different sizes, 1/4 ounce, 3/8 half. Typically the tougher the bite, the smaller and lighter you're going to go. Like on a silver buddy, a 1/4 ounce silver buddy on a really tough bite is a game changer. And then the next factor is color. And one thing you need to remember for wintertime fishing, there's two major schools of thought on color. Sunny day silver, cloudy day dingy water gold, and that does hold true. But I am going to tell you this: that red, wherever that red one went, that red one plays.
That's a player.
That red one plays, and you need to experience that.
Yeah.
Now, as far everybody's chiming in with different blade baits, listen,
There's a million of them.
there is a ton of them. I only grabbed a couple here. I mean, here at the shop alone, we carry Jackal, Mega Bass, Demiki, Molix, Silver Buddy, Cotton Cordell, Head and Sonar.
Yeah.
We carry Vibes.
Vibes.
We carry
The other company, a tungsten one, whatever.
no. The zinc one.
Zinc one, yeah.
9 different blade baits.
Yeah.
2 to 3 sizes each. 2 to 10 colors each.
Yeah.
It's just like the combinations are astronomical. Why is that? Because they catch fish.
Yeah.
Okay,
They
they catch
definitely
fish
do.
from winter until pre-spawn. And if you get a big ass cold front in early spawn season, they will flat out thump some fish then.
Yeah.
Now, as I said earlier, I like to fish them on a spinning rod.
Yeah. And
Okay.
and this is where,
Let's talk about blade bait technique.
yeah, there's a lot of people who are really frustrated with them because they lose them. These things are like they're rocks. You throw them in the water, they sink like a rock, and they go to the bottom. They find rocks, they find sticks, they find twigs,
Cut the front hook off.
and I'm telling you right now, I fished with this guy over here where he can fish one blade all day long.
Well, for a long time.
And he might go through 2 a day, but I'm telling you, with patience, with that super amount of patience that it takes to fish a blade bait, because let's face it, George, how many times are you fishing this thing real fast?
Never.
Yeah. See, it's a lot of guys that don't have success with blade baits is because you're just fishing it too fast because you're worried about hanging up. You're popping it right when it hits the bottom. You're popping it up and getting it off the bottom right away. And the guys who just have the patience or are willing to get down on the bottom, they're the ones catching these fish. You got to be on the bottom. You got to leave it down there. You got to shake it around. You got to pop small, and you got to have this massive amount of patience that you don't pull your bait into that snag hard. Because, you can just pop them off. I'm telling you, George will pop that thing off, and we'll pop that bait off, sometimes 6-7 times on one cast.
Well, I'm a big believer on the blade bait is the technique in which you lift the bait up. Very rarely will I rip a blade bait. There's a time and a place for that, but it's rare. Usually with the blade bait, and the reason I use a spinning rod is I pick the blade, I swim the blade bait up. So, I mean, I'm not ripping it and I'm not just lifting it real slow. I want to feel that blade fully engaged, and I want to pick it up a good 6, 8, 10 inches, and then I want to let it fall on a controlled slack. I don't want to just drop the rod and let it kind of free fall down, because I'm going to lose touch with the bait, and the most aggravating thing in the world is my line's going to wrap into hooks. So I want a controlled fall, semi-slack. A lot of bites on the blade bait come on the fall, which is why I like the spinning rod, because a lot of times I'm out of position, I'm up high, and when you pick that rod back up, that fish is there.
Yeah.
And remember, their mouths are hard. You know, you need to reel and set at this in the same motion, like almost like a reel set. Now, when you feel that bait, when you pick up and you feel that bait, quote unquote, is snagged, it probably isn't. But what you do next will determine if it is.
Exactly.
And
Patience.
instantly, the boomerang technique, or as I like to call it, the boomerang technique, pop, it comes free.
The boomerang technique, which I like to call the boomerang technique.
That's what I like to call it. So, you know, that's your word for the day on blade bait fishing.
That's, a lot of guys, I saw some of these guys, Paul, and I'm going to bust on you. I go through 10 of them a day. Well, the patience, my friend, patience.
And I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I mean, I had a day not too long ago when I emptied my blade bait box out, and I had some old
issues.
school. I had some old school. The wind was blowing unmercifully.
I see. That's where those days you just can't fish the damn thing. It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
It was just brutal.
You're gonna have to, work something else, because that's just not worth catching. And I know the day, and he wasn't really catching a lot of fish. He was catching some fish, but he wasn't catching a lot. I was catching as many, doing something else, because I already broke off 3 of them. I'm like, I'm done with that.
It was just one of those.
It's just one of them days. You couldn't. The place we were fishing, the structure we were fishing,
it was gnarly.
I switched up to one of my favorite wintertime baits, and we're going to talk about that next here. Because of that reason, I had to switch up, and I went through the progress, and I got to fishing another bait that we like to fish, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. And I was catching as many fish as he was, so that wasn't the bait. So just get away from it.
That's also rare.
Yeah, that's what he likes to think. But you just get away from it when it's like that. You get away from that. It's not worth. It's not worth it. And if you can find another bait that'll catch him, as good when it's like this in those conditions. Now, if those conditions were changed and he was whacking him on it, and it was like whacking him like crazy and losing 10 baits, that's different. Just put the thing away. Don't mess with it. But that double hook deal,
I was cleaning out all my old baits.
Paul, cut that front one off, brother.
That is a game changer.
That's a game changer,
and
man.
I don't feel like you miss fish.
Yeah. And Paul's a hell of a fisherman.
He is.
He can whack them. He's a hammer.
So that's a little discussion on blade baits.
Yeah.
It's a yearly discussion, which we love to have.
It is. It's fantastic. All you guys out there, if you could do us a favor, like and share the platform you're on right now. TikTok, if you could just give us a good like out of that right now, that'd really help us out, get us started. I appreciate all you guys stopping in tonight on TikTok. Thank you guys, my OGs over here on Facebook and YouTube, for checking in tonight with us and listening to what we had to say and commenting and all that kind of stuff. But if you can like and share and comment on these on the show today, and get this show out there. We still have, a 15 minutes or so. We got to talk about some wintertime fishing. That would make us real happy, and we appreciate that. So thank you so much for everybody for taking the time to like and share and tap the screen over there on TikTok. Thank you so much. So George,
tell me, Mike, where are you going with this? 'Cause
well,
you better be going where I think you're going.
I mean, the idea in wintertime fishing is putting a bait in front of the fish's mouth. That's number one, not too intimidating, right? Unless it's just like a 4-day worming trend and they're up, they rolled up on that, and then you can throw a big swim bait and catch them.
Yeah, when you get that 4-day warming trend,
you get that.
you can fish it like it's spring.
You can fish that big bait. That big bait.
What was one of the greatest warming trends we ever had in the winter?
December 27th.
And we destroyed them on a spinnerbait.
Yeah. And a giant a spinner bait and a giant swim bait, like a 4/8 swim bait.
But that doesn't happen very
It
often.
doesn't happen very long, so
But be able to adjust.
you got to be able to adjust to that. So but
I'm putting a check mark on this one.
yeah, the trick is that you want to present a bait that's not too intimidating, and that represents the bait in the water. And for me, and I talked about this for years, and a lot of you guys are going to say, yeah, Mike, we know, but that swim bait, and I'm going to say Kitech, because there's a key to this.
Well, this one too.
Yeah, because this has it too. The Kitech
Squid scent,
and
baby.
and the Rhythm Wave, but see how nice and skinny that is? That's a skinny profile swim bait.
And the squid scent.
So, and the squid scent is baked in on that. So you have the 4-inch swing impact from Kitech, and you have the 3.8 here in the Rhythm Wave. I'm sorry, the Rhythm Wave. But the key is that it's not the big fat swim baits. It's a thinner, smaller profile, not so intimidating, but it's a little bit bigger. But that's what's swimming around out there. It's about a 3-inch to 4-inch type bait out there swimming around your minnows.
Well, the other key
some
to
of
it,
your
Mike,
shads, and then that squid scent.
and the other key to it is on those better swim baits like the Jackal
Yeah.
Rhythm Wave and the that tail.
Yeah,
I like to say
Yeah.
you could rig that up and throw it in a glass of water,
yeah,
and that tail just sit there and just breathe like that.
yeah. The 4-inch swing impact by Kitech is just a killer. And another thing about those plastics is they're super soft, and that, like George said, that it just allows that bait just to move in the slightest.
I'm telling you, throw it in a glass of water.
Yeah, just goes like that, and
It's deadly.
and when we talk about dead sticking,
It's deadly.
like we did all day today, it just sits there and quivers under its own accord,
It's absolutely
and
deadly.
it absolutely catches them. So that's one that
And
we like.
there's a couple rigging keys to that. So if you have a fairly open bottom rock, not a lot of wood, but a little bit of wood, a jig head. Now you can do a weedless jig head,
Yeah, you sure can.
which will let you get into nasty stuff a lot more, and you'll
Yeah.
be surprised
Yeah,
because your fishing is slow. You'll be very surprised how very well that weedless jig head. If you look at like a baby squadron head from Strike King, the baby with that wire hook, and you look at that little weed guard, you can thin that weed guard down with your braid scissors. You can put that bait on there, and you can just drag slowly. It's deadly technique. They make these things in like a million colors. You can match a color to any circumstance known to water, to fishermen. I have some color concepts that I've shared with you guys in the past. Mike and I have shared with you. Cameraman Nick have shared with you. If you get a clear water situation, which most of the time winter is, and a sunny day, you're going to need a bait that's got some translucence to it.
and some metal flake.
What I like to call a smoke background.
Mhm.
A bluegill pattern, a silver shiner pattern, something of that nature. You get a little cloud cover on that day, something that's got a little more opaque, like this Gobi color right here.
Yeah,
It's a little more opaque. It's still subtle. A sexy shad pattern, something that's kind of subtle, but yet has got that profile.
Mhm.
And, a lot of times you've heard us say on this show, colors like several tiers down on the strength list. In the winter, I feel color's a lot more important because the water's so clear, right?
Yeah.
It's like when you go up north to fish.
Yeah. So,
That clear water.
point taken. You might have to shuffle through your colors a little more than you do any other time. Experiment a little bit more. If you're getting a few bites, and you know there's more fish there, experiment with the colors. It's amazing how color just changes up. Many times. Did you say sungill?
I wasn't going to.
I gave it away. It's amazing how overcast, maybe a little color got in your water, from whatever, rainstorm or whatever, but it's nice and warm. It's warming up nice. You got that 2-3 degrees warm up.
Day 3, baby.
Happening. Day 3's happening. And the water is just a little touch stained and
it's on.
And the fish are rolling up a little bit. That sungill color will kick everybody's butt.
It don't suck.
It's really unbelievable, sungill. So check that color out, and you can get that really, really nice. In I think they have it in Rhythm Wave, but they definitely have it in Kitech. So check both of those out. But get a quality piece of plastic this time of year, scented, preferred, or your favorite one, and lather it up good. Lather that sucker up, Nick. Get that sucker lathered up. Lather that bait up and get that scent on there, because that's very, very important. But nice and soft, subtle, supple plastic. Let that little natural wiggle happen.
Guys, question for you. How important, George, you're talking about rigging methods. How important is the weight size of your jig head or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, you want to honestly feel the bottom. And that's it. I mean, I don't go any heavier than I need to go. If I can feel the bottom with 1/8 of an ounce, and navigate my way around, I'm cool with it.
Yep.
If I'm not, I will be the very first person in the boat to cut that off and tie another one up, or pick up another rod and rig another one up. My last 2 days of fishing, I've caught 98% of my fish on this little swim bait deal right here. And I've used 3 or 4 different weight to match
this conditions,
current, lack of current, shallow, depth, wind.
He's not lying, folks.
I've got them. I mean, I'll have, by the end of the day, because I don't like to tear the bait off and put another one on because of the tearing the bait up. So I'll just tie it on another rod. By the end of the day, if I'm catching them on it, I'll have 2-3 rods rigged up. You know me, I like to fish a lot of tidal water in the winter, and I love this technique for that. I don't usually fish the jig head in brush piles, and I'll go to the Texas rig. So I'll do a little wide gap, 1/0 or 2/0 hook, and a little bullet weight.
Yeah.
Like an 1/8 ounce tungsten bullet weight.
Yeah.
It's interesting because when you have a small profile bait, an 1/8 ounce fish is a lot heavier than it would on a bulky bait. So when I say 1/8 ounce, I could be fishing 12 foot of water with an 1/8 ounce Texas rig on a little swim bait like that.
That's different. Yeah.
Because of the streamlinedness of the bait.
Yeah.
But definitely put that in your rotation. It's a killer.
Light as possible, Nick, to answer your question.
It's a winter killer.
As light as possible, but to be able to stick the bottom a little bit. Because don't forget, you don't want it to move off too quick. You want to stick the bottom a little bit, but you also want to tick along real nice and easy. You want to be able to let it kind of float along, but it's got to stick the bottom. It's got to hit the bottom and kind of contact the bottom. And it's funny because even in some windy situations, if you're fishing that little shallower water, even in those windy situations, you could fish an 1/8 of an ounce, if it's shallow, and still get that little teeny bit of tick on there, where it's just kind of sticking a little bit. You want it's just light as possible without not feeling, because you got to feel the bottom. You got to have some kind of, you got to have the cast, you got to have the bottom, and you got to know the bottom's there. So the guys that are kind of really good with those good rods, they can go a little lighter because they can really feel a little better when it's on the bottom, when it's not. So, the lighter, the better. And I guarantee you this thing, the lighter you go, and still have those conditions, those things happen, the more fish you're going to catch. And I promise you, the lighter the better. So very, very important when it comes to that.
Mike, got a question on here. First
Yeah.
question on TikTok.
Oh, here we go.
They want to know, do you have the Stella FK in stock?
Of course.
Of course we do.
There you go.
Go
Of
to
course.
sfttackle.com and cruise the loop, baby.
You bet. That's
There you
one of the
go.
greatest, man, right there. That's the greatest reel of all time. That's the one that everybody wants.
Well,
Everybody
I mean,
wants.
you know.
That's the wanting the reel. If you can get them and buy them, then you're that's
Okay, guys.
the one everybody wants.
I hate to cut you guys off, but we're running long on time. I want to get back on target here. And we're not going to be able to talk about the rest of our little techniques on this show. We will on the next show. We're going to do winter fishing part 2. But I do want to talk to you guys who are winter fishing about safety. So Mike and I have been in this business for a long time. We have customers that have came close to dying winter fishing. Okay. We know people in this industry that we personally knew way back in the day that have died winter fishing.
Mhm.
So not trying to be,
Downer,
a preacher here, but
Debbie Downer.
wear your life jacket from the
That's-
parking lot to the parking lot.
I'm telling you.
Okay. Now, the problem I have with life jackets is a lot of people that I fish with bought the inflatable life jackets and they got the $99.99 special on sale for $79.99 at Bass Pro because it was $79.99. And you know what? In the warmer water and the warmer weather, that's fine. If you're not a big guy, you'll have enough buoyancy. But what you don't realize about those vests is in really cold water, really cold air, you're not getting the full volume of fill when that thing pops. So for those of you who
Because it's cold.
right, you're getting a partial fill.
Yeah.
Which, is now with all your clothing on is not going to be enough for you.
Yeah.
So for those of you who are avid winter fishermen that don't have the big fancy, Mustang HIT 38 gram, vests, wear a zip up vest. Wear a zip, Paul Batters, thank you. Wear a zip up vest, but wear it. If you fall out of your boat fishing by yourself or fishing with your buddy and there's some current present, you may not live.
Yeah.
And, we all kind of like you.
Yeah.
We'd like you to hang around for a minute.
Yeah.
So, wintertime safety. You got boots on. You got insulated sim suits on. You got reapers on. I mean, you're loaded up for bear. And then all that gets wet. It's
Heavy.
all game over, bro.
It's heavy.
I even take it another step. I don't fish by myself in the winter. When I was younger, I did, and I dodged a few bullets. But you know what? Now I'm older. I fish with people.
Yeah. That's
You
smart.
never know.
That's really smart.
Paul Batters again. Keep an extra change of clothes in the boat.
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
I might as well just have Paul come on here because there's an experienced winter fisherman right
Yeah.
here who knows what he's talking about.
You're going to be glad you have those clothes in the boat.
You're not going to start your boat up and run on plane back to your car with soaking wet clothes on because guess what?
You're going to freeze solid.
Wind chill. You're going to die.
Freeze
Right?
solid.
So that's enough on that topic there. Please be safe out there.
Yeah.
Be careful at the boat ramps in the morning. If you're not the first guy there, when he pulls his boat out, drags a bunch of water up the ramp. That water freezes. You step on it, you fall down, you crack your freaking head, you get a concussion. Okay. So,
Speaking from experience, all of us,
all of us river guys,
we've done it, been there, done that.
we carry
Sand
salt,
sand
sand.
in the truck.
Back of my truck right now is full of gravel.
Yep.
I mean,
Loaded.
we've already had to use it twice this year.
Yep.
Right? So just be careful out there, people. What was that? Hill Street Blues? Let's be careful out there.
And what we really need is to know somebody that has like a like a skid loader or a backhoe or something that when it snows and they pile all that shit up on the ramps, we can push it out of the way and go fishing.
And you will have if you can bring your skid loader.
We're looking for somebody and we'll pay.
Contact us this winter after severe weather, and we will take you fishing.
Yep.
Hey, here's another thing that we've all learned the hard way. If you get rain or whatever, that night it freezes and now you can't open up your compartments of your boat.
My gosh.
That's another nightmare.
Yeah, that's a brutal thing.
Yeah.
You know what they said to do for that? Go to the car wash and hit it with what is it that
the hot water?
The hot water. They got the hot water car washes. Go through.
You know what else they say to do about that?
What?
Put your tarp on your boat.
Well, yeah, but they still freeze though.
Not with a tarp on the boat.
No, but if it was wet the day before, it'll freeze.
Well, I'll tell you what. Here's a quickie for you. Tournament, and I forget where it was. It was early season, and it froze hard overnight. And guys were backing their boats down the ramp, and the trailers were frozen to the boat.
They're stuck,
and they're trying to drive off the trailer, but the trailer's not on the bottom of the water.
Yeah,
the trailer's frozen to the boat.
Yeah, they had to sit there for a while until it melted out.
That's a hardcore day, but let's not go down that wormhole.
Well, we had in our area where there's a lot of jet boats, some of those guys their steering's freezing up, because they got this crazy steering in them.
Just be careful.
Just be careful.
Hey,
listen, it's a very, very awesome time of the year. It's a rewarding time of the year. It's a time of the year where people put their stuff away. And all we're saying is that unless the lures are bouncing, don't put your stuff away. You can absolutely go out there. You can absolutely take advantage of it. There's gear like we started to show out, the good quality gear you can buy so that you're comfortable out there. I fish with a massive wimp over here in the cold.
Right.
And he dresses and he is comfortable and doesn't bitch all day, I
take exception to the wimp comment.
Wimp. And
I'll
don't even go there, bro.
Whatever.
What do you got in the office right now?
A heater.
Right next to your chair. He got a freaking heater next to his chair. That's something my grandmother did all the time.
We're good. Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, look,
I'm not going to argue with you.
Are you listening to me?
You're usually the first one in the boat that wants to go home.
Oh, bull crap. Because my arms are tired from catching all the fish.
All right.
Listen, all I'm saying, George, is that there's gear out there that will allow you
we went over it.
Allow you to fish all day long, along with all this other stuff. So
we went over it hardcore.
Yep.
So got a little off the tracks there. Apologize for that.
You get off the tracks. We went off the tracks.
I got one for you.
What do you got?
67-pound goldfish.
What?
67. Now,
it wasn't a real goldfish. What was it?
I won't use my normal retort to that. It was a leather carp koi hybrid.
Ooh.
And it was in this lake for 15 years, and it was called the Carrot.
Ah.
And this guy over in the UK caught it.
The Carrot.
And it was 67 pounds. Now, I just set a record with a 40-pound koi on the Susquehanna. It was a koi carp hybrid. So I'm calling it a hybrid. It's kind of like, a Prius. It pulled like a Prius.
Explain the fish, though. You got to explain. You got to explain.
It was the size of a Prius.
George said it had 12-inch long.
It had peck fins. It had peck fins on it that were 18 inches long. Okay. Like feathers. It looked like a big bird flying through the river. Right. It had a tail that was 18 inches wide and 24 inches long. Feathers.
Gorgeous specimen.
It looked like Pegasus swimming through the main river.
It's gorgeous.
And I caught this sucker.
I wish you would have got a picture of it.
I almost landed
because I can't.
I fought it for so long, and the hook,
wiggled out.
At the last second, he made his last valiant dive, and I said, "Oh no, you don't, son!" And I come back up on him, and he gone. But it was a hybrid.
George, you know how much that fish might have been worth?
I
Those things are
know.
expensive.
I know.
I'm just telling
He
you.
could have landed that, sold that thing for hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I know where it's at. I know where it's at. There was a whole bunch of them there.
That is crazy, man.
I'll go back and get them and get a picture.
If you would have had a picture of that, I mean,
All right, stand by.
these fins were.
I got to get my phone because I'm going to show you all the carrot real quick.
All right, hurry up. We got to get going. So I hope everybody from TikTok enjoyed the show tonight. We appreciate you stopping in, and of course, all of our OGs over here. Thank you guys. What do you got there, brother?
The
Holy
carrot.
shit, that's a giant. That is a carrot. That's a bag of carrots. That's
The carrot was released
put back
much
in.
the same way I released a hybrid. I
You
will
didn't
be going back to that hole.
I wish you would have had a picture like that where you were holding it.
I was
holding
trying. I had them right up to the side of the boat. I'm going to go back to
Susquehanna
that hole.
River carrot.
Hybrid. No,
Susquehanna
no,
hybrid.
mine was brown
Oh,
and it had tiger stripes in the fins. No orange. It was a brown koi crossed over the tracks, hooked up with this carp. And I mean, I'm just saying.
I don't know, man. I don't know, bro.
I had me a hybrid on.
It just if you would have had the pictures, we could have took it to the scientists. They could have analyzed it.
Listen, let me tell you about this
And
carp hole.
they could have told you.
Let me tell you about this carp hole. So I'm fighting the hybrid, right? And it's a battle. And my boy Corbin, he hooks equal size carp.
It wasn't the same hybrid, though.
No. While I'm fighting the hybrid, I land his carp for him.
Ah,
I got the hybrid, the Boga grip. I got a 30 and a 40. He releases that one, cast out. He catches another one.
why were you fishing there?
We left immediately. I looked at the side imaging. There was like 40 or 50 giant shadows on this flat. And that's when I knew.
Did you hook them in the mouth?
Oh, yeah.
All of them.
That's when I knew I was in the carp hole. And I know where that is. And I'm going back.
Going back
Go-Go's
for
on
carp.
here, said he caught a coconut, and he was fishing with me in the winter.
That's right.
And he did catch a coconut. Kogo's the only man I've ever known in my life to fish with me in the winter that caught a turtle.
Wait. Oh, coconut was a turtle.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So there you go. That's
Yeah.
your funny
There-
story for the week.
Well, there you have it.
The
Yep.
carrot has been landed.
Well, like I said earlier, thank you guys so much for stopping by. We appreciate it very much. Every Thursday night, for everybody new here, every Thursday night at 7:00, we'll come at you with the show. Our topics will change a little bit. We're kind of staying with the temperature right now, so we got one more show to finish up our winter show.
And that will be power fishing. in the
That'll be a little bit different. We'll get into some of our other techniques that we really like to fish.
Power fishing.
And that'll be on our next show next Thursday at 7:00. Nick, thanks a lot for being here tonight. Thank you guys.
Absolutely.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you guys. I'm Mike Acord. This is George Acord. And
Think about this.
yeah, until next time, we'll see you on the next Tackle Shop Live.
Sunny day, right there you took my breath away. Young and pretty, was it just a dream? The next day you called me up, you told me I'm your little buttercup. You came over and you fell into my arms. Well, I know what I feel. Please tell me your love is real. You make me smile when I think of you. If I am down, oh, and I am blue, I can't get enough. You make me happy, I feel so fine. Oh, how I wish that you were mine. I can't get enough. Oh, please, I woke up all soaked in sweat, with chills running down my neck. I'm going crazy from just the thought of you. A long blonde hair and your beautiful smile. You sent